Hey everybody, Gizmo here. We are going to be talking today about Fallout 76, and in particular, my top 8 concerns. We might go to 10, we'll see, about Fallout 76, kind of what's going on with it, and then kind of where were the biggest things I think that are going to be troublesome for the implementation of this particular thing. I'm just checking to make sure everything's working here. Hold on a second. Let me go ahead and turn that guy off. Don't need that guy, but I'm not seeing any. I'm not seeing my stream here, so it's kind of a little concerning. It's like it says that we're offline on Mixer. Not sure what's going on with that. Let's see if I can figure out what's happening here. Okay, yeah, it's saying I'm offline on Mixer. That's interesting. Let's see if it says that I'm online on Twitch. I don't know. I don't know why I'm talking to the microphone, because you guys are right there. So, let's see here. Alright, top concern about Fallout 76. It says I'm live. Let's see, are we really live? Are we live? That's a really good question. I would like to hear from you guys, though, what you think the biggest concerns you have are. You know, having watched all this stuff, having seen these things going on, seeing the E3 trailers, multiplayer going on in the background, all that kind of stuff, what really concerns you? Where do you have reservations about the game based upon how the rest of the Fallout universe has been working? Because I know certainly from my perspective, I have some concerns. You know, Fallout has some nice elements to it that are... there we go. Looks like everything's working. Fallout has some nice elements to it that are primarily around sort of the meditational aspects almost of base building, you know, aligning things and getting things so that they're just right. And, you know, we don't have that. And this new system is going to have base building, but it is going to be a bit, I think, more chaotic than what we're used to. We're not going to have the level of... refinement that we're used to having. I think resources are going to be quite a fight. So anyways, let's go ahead and talk about my top 10, top 8 plus. There you go. My top 8 plus concerns about Fallout 76. And then what I think Bethesda can do to make sure that that's not going to be a huge problem. So number one, the base building mechanics. Obviously, this is a huge thing. You know, the way that we do base building in Fallout 4, especially because that's the most recent version of that mechanic, I think really inspires us to do things and, you know, to lay things out a certain way to really build things up. Of course, finding resources is a challenge. If you have bugs like I have in my game where I can't build out the drive-in, then that's really a problem. So I have certain areas I can build in, but for some reason, like the entire middle part of my drive-in is completely unavailable for building. I've heard that it's a problem that other people have as well, so it isn't just me, but it is one of those challenges I think that, that I'm struggling with. But in essence, though, you know, the other places where I've been building, like, you know, Sanctuary and the castle and those kind of things, those are great. And I like being able to spend the time to align things, especially in Sanctuary. I've spent a lot of time building that up. I've seen some other builds that were done from other creators, and they have huge structures that they've managed to put together from all of this, from these locations, and they're pretty exciting things. I think it's pretty awesome, the kind of things that they're building. But at the same time, I think that there are some pretty major concerns from my mind about how can you get that sort of dynamic and put it into a game where you don't really have that kind of time. You can't really spend the time and energy to make that stuff. I think there's going to be some challenges about doing the base building. I think it's going to be almost more of a quick, let's just lay stuff out and put things together, rather than this whole more involved, like I said, more meditational, more refined way of doing base building. I think there's going to be more of a slapdash, that kind of stuff. And I think there's going to be some concerns there, from my perspective. The other part that sort of comes along with this is my second concern, which is the camp system. So let's say that you're part of a party. It's, you, Alice, Bob, Chuck, and the four of you guys are together, and you're building your base, and it's all working great. And then I don't know whether those bases are going to be community owned. I know they have community workshops, and we'll get to community workshops in a minute. That's another concern. But what is when you're building your base and you're building it communally, who owns what? Let's say that Alice decides to leave your group. What happens to the stuff? Does she get a copy of everything? If then Bob leaves, does Bob get a copy of all the stuff that's left? Do you split it up somehow? Do you, what do we do? How are we going to find a way to divide these things up? And it's totally unclear to me. It's like, when they talk about the camp system, there's a couple of things. One is, if your camp is somewhere where somebody else has built, then it will sort of pack it up and put it into the camp box, and then you can take the camp box somewhere else and unpack it, and it sort of creates a blueprint of what your space looks like, which is fab. But what happens at that point when you unpack it? Who gets the stuff? How, let's say that I log in, but Alice, Bob, and Chuck don't log in. What happens then? So I think there's a lot of questions about how this whole camp system is going to work. Who gets the stuff? Is it only available if you're with the party? I know other games sort of have similar things, but a lot of those things are sort of built in-game. And so, like, for instance, in Conan Exiles, for instance, you build your stuff, and then because it's a PvP world, it stays there. And even when you log out, you just sort of, you go to sleep on one of your cots or your bed or whatever, and then you're out, but your stuff is still there. It seems like they're like packing up the stuff and removing it from the game when you're not logged in. Because they talk about when you log in, it will try to rebuild your base, and if it can't, then it will pack it up in the system. So it's like, well, what do you mean you can't rebuild it? Is it going to persist on that server while I'm gone, or is that going to come with me when I leave? So that's the part I just don't know. Hopefully they do more free the combat by, I'm not sure what precision. Oh, by combat by do more free combat by precision. You mean like the VAT stuff? That could be. But so the camp system is still, like I said, I'm a little concerned about it. It seems like it might be more of a, it goes with you. It felt like what I was hearing from Todd Howard was that it was more of a, you would migrate from server to server, so that when you logged in, it would just be like, okay, now you're on server A. Okay, now you log in again, you're on server Q. You log in again, you're on server M. So I'm not sure that you were logging into the same servers all the time, like you will with an EverQuest or any other like a WoW. I'm sure. Honestly, I don't play WoW, but I'm pretty sure they have like regular servers. Regardless, you sort of log into a server, and then that's where you create your character, and then your characters. But it felt like, I think I heard him say at one point that they were going to allow you to move your character between servers. There's sort of going to be these things in the background, and no private servers yet, which is fine. I think it's going to be okay. But I think the concern is going to be, well, what happens with your base? So if you are moving between servers and you just simply log in and it's a server that's available, what does that look like? Well, if your camp is packed up when you leave, then that stuff isn't there when you try to log back in again. If you log into the same server, then someone could be building there, obviously. Or it could be that you have, you can just rebuild your stuff there. But if it persists, and then somebody comes along and blows up all your crap, like they could in, let's say, a game like Conan or something, what happens to your stuff? I mean, they say you can rebuild it with lower resources and that kind of stuff, which is great. But I guess maybe it's where it is going to be your stuff persists, and then it can be destroyed. But when you log back in, if it'll say that somebody comes to your camp while you're logged out and blows it up, and completely decimates the whole thing, and then build stuff on top of it. I mean, I guess that could be it. Then you log in and your stuff's not there because somebody else built something on it. So they pack up your base in the camp box, and you can take the camp box somewhere else. For this mode, don't like VATS. So yeah, so for this mode, not liking VATS, I agree. I know that they're going to have VATS. I know that it's going to be, again, it's sort of like, you know, first-person shooter like Call of Duty or something, where you can sort of, when you like hold your breath, that you're going to be able to do things, but it's going to be real-time VATS, and I don't see that being very useful. I personally, I don't use VATS even in Fallout 4, so I know a lot of people do, but I'm just, I don't know, maybe I'm just old school that way. I just like, you know, look, if I want to get a headshot, I'm going to target the head and I'm going to shoot it, you know, or if I'm going to try to blow off a leg or something like that, I will try to do those things myself. I don't want to rely upon VATS to do that for me. Even though my character's got like huge VAT pluses, you know, bonuses and stuff like that from my, you know, my equipment and all that kind of stuff. So that's obviously something we have to take a look at as well. I think for what do you call it? For the camp system, though, I'm really curious to see what they're going to do, and I'm hoping that in the beta we're going to get to see how that's going to work. I did pre-order, so I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to stream some Fallout 76 beta for you guys, and you can take a look at it and see what's going on. But we'll see what happens. Like I said, so what happens if you leave the game? What happens if you leave the party? Do you get the stuff? Do you sacrifice the stuff? These are some questions and some concerns I have. I'm not sure about how they're going to work that out. Concern number 3. What happens if you log into a nuked zone? So let's say that I've left the vault and I'm wandering around the wasteland and I end up somehow in Charleston. Okay, so I'm in someplace in West Virginia, and while I'm gone, I log out, and I'm camped out in some house somewhere, and I log out, and I log back in, and since then somebody has dropped a nuke on the city. I know Todd Howard was saying that this is an opportunity for players to create what he called high-level zones. So the idea being that instead of like going to the glowing sea like you do in Fallout 4, where that's a high-level zone, or like sort of the further out you move from Vault 111, the higher the levels, all that stuff that you have to worry about. What I'm finding is that, you know, players are going to be able to create these things on their own. So then what does that mean? What does that look like? And if I'm there, but I'm not high level, let's say that I'm only like level 20, but nuking a zone really moves it up to like level 50, and I log in and suddenly I'm a level 20 guy, I'm going to get my ass handed to me. So I'm a little concerned about that. What's going to happen there? Are we going to have the opportunity to know that happened when we log in, or is it just going to be a, hey, you show up and you're going to get irradiated and you're going to die, and then you're going to get killed by a glowing death claw? Yeah, I don't know. So that's another one of my concerns. Number 3. Number 4. This kind of goes to the griefing element, and this is that there are community workbenches. Yay, fabulous, that's great. That's an opportunity for players to not have to worry about building their own stuff. We've removed settlements in the way that they were in Fallout 4, where you have specific places that you're going to be building. Where now those are places you can't build, but you can build anywhere else, which is really kind of cool. It really opens up the game, I think, for a lot more people to explore a lot more stuff, to try different terrains, to try different constructions, that kind of stuff, which is really cool. However, there are going to have to be community workbenches so that you can start that process, I think. So then what happens? Well, number 1, there's going to be griefing. People are going to be waiting. Oh, someone did beast mode? All right, hold on. You know, I don't think I have that guy here. Let me see here. Hold on a second. I should probably do that. Let me see. Where is that? I have that somewhere. Oh, here it is. All right. Add existing. Firebot overlay. There we go. Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. That's pretty silly. All right. Cool, coolio. Someone's having fun with all my buttons. Yay. Cool. Hey, at least it's working for you. So that should be, so now the beast mode and set it on fire should work for you. Anyway, so community workbenches, this is a real obvious opportunity for people to grief. And by grief, I mean, you can talk about, like, spawn camping. Somebody waiting, like, outside the vault for somebody to walk out and then blowing them away and getting their stuff and that kind of thing. And they do have this concept of revenge, because you see it during the E3 trailer, that there's that guy, he kills P. Garvey, and he kills him, and it says revenge, and there's a certain number of caps he gets as a result of doing that. But I think, the concern I think we're going to really see is griefing around the community workbenches. People just hanging out there waiting to get stuff. And so in a way it's spawn camping, but really it's camping around the community workbenches. I think it's going to be a challenge. I don't know if they're going to create a safe zone around those, which would be interesting. I don't know if they're going to limit who can interact with whom. It's possible they could say, like, you're not going to get tagged. You can't get attacked by somebody who's more than 5 levels above you, or I don't know. There's a couple ways you can deal with this from a design perspective. If you want to keep it open, though, it's going to be hard to do that. And I think the other thing is that we're looking at is with this map being so huge, 4 times the size of Fallout 4, which is ridiculously large. I think that we're going to have a lot more questions about sort of where those community benches located, and then how likely people are going to be to find them. I think, though, what we're going to see is a lot more people actually doing stuff with the doing griefing around the community workbenches than not. So that's my number 4 concern. Number 5, do we get nuke warnings? So let's say that I'm in Charleston, which is the example they give during the E3 trailer, and suddenly I'm doing some stuff and somebody launches a nuke. Do I get any warning about that? Can I see the nuke coming? Is it, there's just some sort of air raid siren that goes off? I mean, it's only 25 years after the nukes went off the first time. So I guess my question would be, is there going to be any warning, or are you just going to end up dead? Which would be kind of unfortunate. But at the same time, I mean, people are going to be doing this. They're going to be nuking stuff to try to make high-level areas so they can go in there and get the rare materials and the rare creatures that come around with a high-level area. So I think we're going to be seeing some stuff like that. I don't know that we're going to get warnings, although I hope we do, so that people at least have a chance. But I mean, it's a nuclear weapon. I don't know how tactical it is versus how mass destruction it is. So I think I have to find out. I'm not sure how big these irradiated areas are going to be when you nuke it. I do know that they eventually go away. So it's very possible that after a while that you're going to see all that stuff sort of pass along. It'll go away, but if you let's say you log out and then somebody nukes the area, but you don't log in for like a day or two, by the time you log back in, it could be back to normal, which could be fabulous. But if I log in and suddenly it's nuked, I mean, like I said, am I going to be immediately irradiated and die, or am I going to have some more warning about that? So I don't know. So that's number 5. Number 6, obviously the base building. Let's see what I think here. Look at what I'm logged in nuke zone. Okay, yes. So that's number 5 and 6. So do we get nuke warnings? And what happens if I logged into a nuke zone? How's that's going to work? Roll Art here brought that question, and I think it's a really troublesome thing. Because if you're trying to do VATS while you're in the middle of a firefight, that's going to be really hard. I guess, I mean, one of the developers was interviewed, and he said, I'm not a Twitch player. And I think that's the problem. I think a lot of people, and the reason that VATS is so nice is because it slows everything down. It gives you a chance to think. Take a deep breath and go, all right, where's the best chance to hit? And if I'm just simply, like I trigger VATS and I see a guy and suddenly everything is lit up on him, and I got to try to figure out, well, what's the highest percentage shot and what's going to give me the most damage for the most. At that point, I'm dead. I mean, so I don't know that it's going to be as useful. It certainly won't be as useful as it is in Fallout 4. I don't know that it's actually going to be useful at all in this kind of a game. I think there's a lot of concerns about that from my perspective. Okay. So, number 7, snap points with base building. So, one of the challenges that we have with just building in the spaces that they've given us is all of our snap points. Trying to align something, like you've got a floor and you're trying to get it rotated and snapped in properly and all that stuff, and then you say, okay, set it, and then it's like off by a degree. You're like, oh my gosh. So you try to figure it out, try to fix it. Yeah, okay. But then you also have, but I can't get something to sit next to it. So it kind of just keeps going around, and it's really frustrating. Again, this is part of that meditational aspect of base building, of trying to figure out how to lay everything out so that it works right and it fits in the space and it actually snaps all together, and that when you put your walls up that they're facing the right direction, and all of those elements. I think that's going to have to be shortcutted in Fallout 76. I think the challenge you're going to have is that you're not really going to be able to build these things as freeform as we have been. I think from what I've seen, they have things like shacks that you build, and it looks like they're probably just prefabs. So you just simply say, okay, look, I want to put a shack here, I'm going to put a shack here, I'm going to put some beds in there, and we're done. I think it's going to be less about building, floors and walls, and I'm sure you can decorate it, but I'm guessing that it's going to be harder to do that because of the dynamic of play, the fact that it's real time, always on kind of thing. I think the other part of this that's going to be a challenge is that West Virginia is really hilly, so you're going to have to build in layers and levels. You're not going to be able to just simply build flat, like you were able to in a lot of cases in Fallout 4. Most of the spaces that they gave you in Fallout 4 were relatively flat. There was some elevation to it, but in most cases it was relatively flat. I think when we look at Fallout 76, I'm seeing an awful lot of hills in there. So I'm concerned about that. I'm also concerned about, what if you take your camp from somewhere and you move it somewhere else and the terrain is completely different? How are they going to lay it out? I mean, if you've designed it a certain way for a flat space and now suddenly you're on a hill, is it going to layer it? Is it going to stick it into the hill because it doesn't do clipping well? What's going to happen there? Is it just simply going to tell you, hey, look, you can't put your camp here? There's a lot of question marks around that. And I think that the challenge is going to be, how do we rebuild these bases? How do we move them from space to space? How are they all going to work out when we reconstruct them? And the terrain is very different and all those things. So that's kind of a question mark that I have. My number 7 concern. And then let's see, number 8 is it kind of goes back to the camp stuff, but it's the party stuff. It really comes back to, what are we doing about the parties? I mean, obviously they're going to encourage you, to incentivize you to team up with your friends. But what happens if your friends aren't logging in? So you log in and you don't have, and your friends aren't there, or you log in and only one of your friends is there. Again, this kind of goes back to what are the base building mechanics? Who owns the stuff? Is it communal? If one person leaves, do they get it? If I log in but no one else is on, what happens? I am not much of a social player with role-playing games. I played EverQuest, I played Dark Age of Camelot, just not really my thing. It was okay, but I would much rather be playing in that world as a single player. And I think the challenge that we have, they keep talking about, there's going to be single player stuff. Is there all the single player quests? And that's great, except that I think the challenge is going to be that a lot of the things that you're going to want, that you're going to be able to get, like for instance, T60 power armor, you're not going to be able to get unless you're teaming up with other people. And so I think that's going to be a challenge for people who are used to the Fallout experience of a single player role-playing game, and now they're being asked to team up with friends. Now, is this going to open up a whole new market for Bethesda with people who do want to play that stuff? I think so. I think there's going to be people who are going to come into the Fallout universe who have come from a multiplayer background, and they're going to be excited by the all the world they've created and all those things. That's fabulous. But I think the challenge we're going to have is that we've got a lot of people who are already in that space who like the gameplay the way it is, and they're going to be somewhat disenfranchised. That said, I do agree with Todd Howard that, you know, it's like, look, when you make a game, you can't make it for everybody who likes a particular game or genre. So, for instance, people who really liked, what do you call it, Skyrim, may not like Elder Scrolls 6. Because the things about Skyrim that they liked were the political intrigue and the Viking stuff with the Nords, and all that stuff. You know, they like that. And you can't bring that into another game and suddenly people can just go, oh, this is the same game, I love it. Or you're not going to be progressing as a game developer, as, you know, creating new content, new intellectual property, that kind of stuff. So I can understand their challenge here of wanting to focus on doing something new, bringing a lot more people into the world that they have here. I wouldn't say they didn't create it; they've leveraged it. But at the same time, there's a lot of expectations from the community about what this game is going to look like, and I think the challenge is that you can't make everybody happy. At the same time, I think that by radically shifting modes like this, that they're going to probably disenfranchise more players than they're going to bring in because it's multiplayer now. So I think it's a delicate balancing act. I don't know what the solo play is going to be like, and so if I'm in a party and I leave it, or I don't want to join a party, sort of how does that hobble me? Because it's going to. I think it's very clear that they want to focus this on not just the single player experience, but a multiplayer experience. And as a result of that, I think we're going to have to really focus on what does that mean, and what is it? What are we going to be doing for gameplay for people who don't want to just team up and run around in power armor together? So it's going to be a big question. I had a couple other things. One was, and I guess this will be number 9. Is Overseer giving quests. So all the quests they talked about, because there aren't going to be any human NPCs in the game. So that's kind of interesting. But you're going to be getting your quests from the Overseer, and you're going to be getting your quests from holotapes and the things that you find in the world. So I'm hopeful that that's going to be something that's going to be really useful, and that mechanic is going to work. My concern here, number 9, is that this might be harder to do because the world is so much larger. Because it's so big, because there's so much more stuff, it may take you longer to find these things. I don't know how long these quests are going to be. I mean, in Fallout 4, most of them were, hey, I need you to do this thing for me. And you went to go do it, and you came back and you were done. I mean, they were tasks. They weren't really quests. Other than the mainline quests, with the Institute and the Railroad and the Brotherhood of Steel and that stuff, we didn't really have, everything else is just sort of like a, hey, go do this favor for me kind of thing. So I'm a little interested to see how that's going to work out, what kinds of things those are going to bring up. Are you going to end up going really far out to go do some of these things? Is there going to be enough stuff? So I mean, I raised this during an earlier video about Fallout 76 was, let's say multiple people are doing the same quest. Each person's at a different level, a different stage in the progress of that quest. I could just be starting, I found the holotape and I'm going to start that quest. But Alice has already, almost completed it. She's in the last stages of it. And Bob is, halfway through it. What happens? How are these people going to be, if I show up somewhere and I expect there to be a monster, but that monster's already been killed, it's like just, kill the Deathclaw in Charleston. Okay, great. I go to Charleston. There's no Deathclaw. It's dead because somebody else killed it. Well, now what? I got to wait till it spawns? I mean, so, obviously other games like, WoW and EverQuest and stuff have dealt with this before. But I'm curious to see how they're going to deal with it. Are they going to take their hints from those hardcore multiplayer games, or are they going to try to do a different mechanic with this, some sort of different design philosophy. So I'm not sure. Two more things, which are not really concerns, but more just points. One is, I don't know if it bothers you guys, but it really bothers me that Todd Howard says nukular. Nuclear. But it's okay. I did like that he talks about this, that West Virginia is really where all of the, where all the nuclear secrets are. And he's right. That's pretty much, West Virginia is where our first real sustaining government facilities were located. If you look it up, you can. I think it's the Greenbrier Hotel is underneath there. Is a gigantic bunker that was built for a government to go in case of a major attack. So there's just kind of some fun things like that where it's interesting to see kind of how that's going to all play out. And the last thing is the 6 distinct regions. I mean, obviously this is a huge map. They've got a lot of things. I'm just wondering how closely these regions are going to, or is it going to be that you sort of have the noob region, which is right around Vault 76, and then you have other regions further out that are the higher level regions, sort of like you do in Fallout 4, where the further you get away from Vault 111, the higher level you need to be in order to survive. I guess I'm just not sure how all this is going to play out. It doesn't seem clear to me that, I know they're looking at having different, fauna and foliage and stuff, flora and fauna for the different areas and stuff to really kind of give it a unique feel. Cool. But does that translate into anything else? I mean, is it like as soon as you cross a border into the swamplands, are you, suddenly going to get schooled by a frog demon? I just don't know. So I'm curious to see how that works out. I'm curious to see if the Overseer is only going to give you quests in your area around the vault, or if it could potentially go further. I'm intrigued to see how it all plays out. But I think there's going to be some definite questions about how that's going to eventually flow into the players manipulating the world, both with base building and with nuking stuff. How it's going to move around again with all the different people doing different quests at different levels. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here. And I'm excited for the game, but I'm also a little hesitant about the game. I'm hoping that we're going to have, more than a couple of people playing these things, that it's going to be, that we're not going to be forced into being in a team or in a group. But at the same time, I'm hoping that we are going to be able to have people doing these things and working together if they want to. But that it's not going to diminish somebody who doesn't want to do that. That they're not going to be disadvantaged because they didn't decide to team up with a bunch of friends, or they can't get their friends to play Fallout because post-apocalypse, I don't like that, or whatever. I'm intrigued. And like I said, I'm hoping that I'm able to stream this stuff for you guys. I am going to be talking to Bethesda when I get into the beta program. Make sure, I can almost guarantee you that they're going to want people playing and streaming this stuff live, because the benefits of having this stuff out in the open, people seeing it, playing it, experiencing it, I think it's going to be pretty huge for Bethesda to gain access to that. So, and I apologize, the camera kind of went wonky there and it can't find me. Hello, camera. Hi. Can you find me now? Okay. Apparently not. So apparently the focus on it is foobarred, so that's okay. Anyway, so those are my top 9 plus, top 8 plus 9 plus, top 8 concerns about Fallout 76. So I am going to be doing some stuff. I do have my I Am Special shirt that I picked up from Naniware. I will see if they actually have it available. If they have a website and stuff, I will link it below on YouTube. If you are on YouTube, please click the subscribe and little bell icon to get notified when I post new videos. If you're on Mixer or Twitch, please click subscribe. Not subscribe, follow. Subscribe costs money. Don't subscribe. That's okay. Just click follow. That'd be great. And you can find me at Gizmo Devo pretty much everywhere. YouTube, Twitch, Mixer, Twitter, the whole 9 yards. So if you have any questions or anything that you'd like to see, anything that you want me to talk about when I actually get Fallout 76, or when I have the opportunity to play about some stuff, or you have some some new information comes available, I'll try to keep you guys in the loop on this. As much as I know there's a lot of people who are really following this very closely. I know IGN is. I know Kotaku is. So there's a whole bunch of people who are very interested in what's going on with Fallout 76. I am one of those people, and I will be doing what I can to kind of help bring this experience to you, so you know what's happening, and you can find out whether Fallout 76 is going to be a good match for what you want to do or not. Until then, Pikachu and I say thank you so much for joining in, and we will see you on the other side. Until then, cheers.